Om Nidaye Sarva Vidhyanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam Gurave Sarva Lokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vivagine Yomavat Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. ஒன்றவன்தானே இரண்டவன் இன்னருள் நின்றனன் மூன்றினுள் நான்கு உணர்ந்தனன் ஐந்து வென்றனன் ஆறு விரிந்தனன் ஏழும்பாற் சென்றனன் தானிருந்தான் எட்டே. ஸ்ருதிஸ்மிருதி புராணானாம் ஆலயம் கருணாலயம் நமாமி பகவத்பாத சங்கரம் லோகசங்கரம். சங்கரம் சங்கராச்சாரியம் கேசவம் பாதராயணம் சூத்திரவாஷ்ய கிருதோ வந்தே பகவந்தோ புனः புனः. யத்வாரே நிகிலா நிலிம்ப பரிஷத் சித்திம் விதத்தே நிஷம் ஸ்ரீமத் ஸ்ரீ லசிதம் ஜகத்குருபதம் நத்வாத்ம திருப்திங்கதா லோகா அஜ்ஞான பயோத பாட்டனுதுரம் Shri Shankaram Sharmadam Shankara Bhagavad Acharya Guruvaram Jayami Jyotirmayam. Summary of Rudram, and then what's the difference between Shiva and Rudra, and then the threefold uses of the Satarudriyam, and then also the difference between those two words, what's a Rik and what's a Yajus, which are also the format in which this Rudram is set. And then the structure of this entire Rudram, and then if time permits, I don't think so, we will touch upon Laganyasam. So if not, we will do it next week. The first Anuvakam, Satarudriyam, I'm going to give you a quick summary, is where we seek the grace of the Lord first. Om Namo Bhagavate. So when we do our Anuvakam 1, we will understand the meaning of what is this Bhagavate means, Bhagavan means. It's a beautiful word. So, Om Namo Bhagavate, we seek His grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Namaste Rudra Manyava Utota Ishave Namaha. So, we worship Him in all different aspects of Him, and we seek His grace. That's number one. And then from number 2 to end of Anuvakam 9, we have these 300 beautiful names called Rudra Trishati. Om Namo Hiranyabhave Namaha, Senhanye Namaha, Dishanchapataye Namaha. So those are the 300 names, where the Lord is described to be in each and every nook and corner of this creation by naming as much as possible within those 300 words from the entire spectrum of creation. So where the Lord is permeated, where His Sarveshwaratvam, where His overlordship, and Sarva Atmakatvam, which means He is in every being, and then the Sarva Antaryamitvam, which means the Sarveshwaratvam means He is the Ishvara, He is the only Ishvara. Ishata Ishani Bihi, we saw in our last classes. He is the Lord of all the Lords. He lords over all the Lords. He is the Deva of all the Devas. He is the God of all the gods. So Ishata Ishani Bihi. So that is Sarveshwaratvam. Sarva Ishwaratvam. Sarva Atmakatvam. He is in all the Jivas. It was one of His 8 manifestations in all the Jivarasis. Sarva Atmakatvam. Sat Sarva Antaryamitvam. He permeates everything. Antaryam. He permeates everything. So all this is in these 300 names between the beginning of second Anuvakam, Namo Hiranyabhave Senanye, to the end of the 9th Anuvakam. And then on the 10th again we start with the prayers, but the nature of prayer that we offer to Lord Rudra in Anuvakam 1 is completely different. Changes in tone, changes in its nature, changes in its intimacy when we come to the 10th Anuvakam. So much so that we get so close to Lord Rudra, we start calling him names when the beginning of 10th Anuvakam. Drape, Andasaspade, Daridra. So all this we call him, then we also ask him for favors. So the most important prayer in 10th Anuvakam is what we really need today at this time. So that is Drape, Andasaspade, Daridra, Nila, Lohita, Yesam, Purushanam, Yesam, Pashunam, Mabe, Armaro, Yeshnam, Kinchanam, O Lord Rudra. Yesam Purushanam, Yesam Pashunam. All these human beings, all these animals, all the Jivarasis, please do not hurt them. Maber Maro, Yesam Kinchanam, not even a little, don't hurt them even a little bit. So that's a very relevant prayer. That's at the very first verse of Anuvakam 10. And there are other prayers for the individual, for the family, for the servants, for the animals. The specific prayers for the grandchildren, for the children, amazing. So that's 10th. And then in the 11th Anuvakam, all the Rudragana, Sahasrani Sahasraso Ye Rudra Adi Bhumya, Sahasrani Sahasraso Ye Rudra Adi Bhumya, wherever all these Rudras are, there are thousands of them. We offer our prayers unto all of them because the different Rudras are in charge of different departments. So that's where the 11th Anuvakam. And then there's also in between, we have, right in between there, we have the Mahamrityunjaya Mantra, Trayambakam Yajamahe. So that's like give you an overall view of the Rudram, what it is all about. Pretty much this is what Rudram is. Now, in Anuvakam 2, Namo Hiranyabhave Senanye, he is Dishanchapataye, he is the Lord of all the directions. All the 8 directions and upward and downward. Dishanchapate, Hiranyabhave, Senanye, he is of all the, he is the leader of all armies. Senanye, Dishanchapate, Namo Vrikshebhyo is the trees. Harikeshebhyo, green-haired one, not the punks you see in downtown Miami Beach or somewhere in Sydney, Australia, the green-haired punks, not that. Mohiranyabhave, Senanye, Dishanchapate, Namo Harikeshebhyo, green-haired one. Which means he is in all the vegetation. That's all Lord Rudra, in all the vegetation. Harikeshebhya. And then Pushthana Pataye Namo, he is in all the nourishment. So that's Anuvakam 2. And Anuvakam 3, Namo Sahamanaya, he is the most tolerant one because they are going to describe all the bad ones. So he is the most tolerant one, and he is also in all the bad ones. Thieves, the robbers, the dacoits, the murderers, the primitive, violent humans. In Anuvakam 4, he is described as being in all the female forms. All that. And then also in all the tradesmen, the fowlers, Punjishtebhyo, Nishadhyebhya, fishermen and the fowler. So everyone you name it. And then in all the animals, the dogs, the owner of the dog, and all that. Now, when we come to Anuvakam 5, we are kind of little explicitly Advaita Vedanta, explicitly. Namo Bhavaya Cha Rudraya Cha Namo Satvaya Cha Pashupataye Cha Namo Nilagriva Cha Shidikantaya Cha Kapardhine Cha Vittakesha. So it's both form and formless. So he's described in his beautiful form as well as the formless aspect, comprising the crux of Advaita Vedanta. Now, when we talk about Advaita Vedanta, there are 2 words, or 2 phrases rather, that we need to clearly understand. It's no complication about it. There's no mysticism about it. Because these words, when you hear an Advaita lecture, you hear it all the time. Then you get confused. So what is this efficient cause? What is the material cause? What is all this? What is adhyasa? So these are the 3 words that you need to understand very clearly. These are very simple words to understand. And the picture that I put there on the screen for you, he's a potter. Now the potter is making pots out of clay. So now if you imagine Lord Shiva to be the potter, the only difference between this potter and the Shiva potter would be not Harry Potter, Shiva Potter. So Shiva is the Hara Potter. So that Hara Potter, the only difference this Potter and that Potter is that the Hara Potter himself is the clay. And out of the clay that he himself is, he also makes this. Now here the clay is the material. So that's material cause, as simple as that. So what is the efficient cause? The one who makes it is the efficient cause. So here in this case, the potter who makes the pot is the efficient cause. The clay is the material cause. So in the case of Lord Shiva, he is both of them. He is the material as well as the maker. As well as the maid. He is the material, the maker, and the maid. As simple as that. That's Advaita Vedanta. So now what is the other term? Adhyasa. Adhyasa is when you superimpose your own mind, your own imagination, your own picture on something that is not really what you're superimposing upon. And then to make it a little more clear and bring it home, this is a very traditional example that is given in Advaita circles, the rope and the snake, the Rajju, the Sarpa. So you're walking along the street in a twilight zone, evening, dusk, and then all of a sudden you jump because you saw a snake, and then you stop, but that thing doesn't move. So then you take a closer look with the light from your cell phone and find out that that's a rope. So what has happened here is the rope is the reality. The rope is the reality. And on that reality of the rope, you have superimposed an illusion of a snake. So that's exactly what this whole Advaita Vedanta is about. The three principles. One is the material, the maker, and the made. They're all one and the same. But what we do, upon this reality of the maker, we superimpose the image of the made and then forget about the maker himself. So the superimposed image of this whole creation is not what it is. So the reality behind this creation is that Lord Shiva. Shiva alone is that only reality. So that's what the entire Rudram is about. So Shiva is the underlying reality, and he has played this magic of creation by activating Maya, the Shakti principle. So once the Shakti principle is activated, then this whole creation comes about, and we lose sight of what is behind it. Once you have superimposed on a rope the image of a snake, we lost the rope. We lost the reality. So Thirumalar very beautifully says in one of his Thirumandiram verses, Marattai maraithtadu maamadayane, Maratthul maraindadu maamadayane, Parattai maraithtadu Parvanjabhudam, Parathul maraindadu Parvanjabhudam. You're walking in the forest and you encountered with a tusker. A tusker is a single elephant. And all of a sudden you stop dead on your track because you're so scared, because the tusker is so huge. But then the tusker doesn't move. The tusker does not move. Then you stand and watch on it very carefully, it still doesn't move. Then you realize that in the vicinity where you are, there is this very expert carpenter who has made this lovely statue, life-size statue of an elephant from rosewood, dark rosewood, an elephant. It looks so real. So then you realize, it's only a statue of an elephant carved out of wood. But the moment you realized that this is wood, so what happened to that elephant that created that elephant? Went and hid itself in the wood. Marattai maraithtadu maamadayane, scene 1. The huge elephant, terrific elephant, has hidden the reality of the wood. The moment you saw that it is an elephant, and you thought it was an elephant, the reality of wood is gone from you. Marattai maraitthadu maamadeyanai. But the moment you realized that it is wood, what happened to the terrific elephant? It went and hid inside the wood. Marattul maraindadu maamadeyanai. So what is in front of you is only the reality of the wood. The same way, this whole creation, parattai maraitthadu par panchapudam, this whole creation comprising of these 5 elements, space, earth, water, fire, all this. So when this comprising of these 5 elements has hidden the reality of Lord Shiva, who is the basis of all this. So parattai maraitthadu par panchapudam, the param, paratpara Shiva is hidden when you see this world as a world. But then when you realize that it's all in my soul, when you realize that Shivoham, 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 and you realize that Shivoham, what happens to all this show of the Panchabhutas? They go and hide in that reality. So what you see is only the reality of Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham eva. That's all you see. So that's pretty much what this Advaita Vedanta is about. The material cause, the efficient cause, results in a part, results in this creation. So once you understand that the material and the maker and the made are one and the same, then it's this unity consciousness. This is all one. Aham Brahmasmi. You are also that. Tattvamasi. Sarvam Kalu, Idam Brahma, everything here is Brahman. I'm Atma Brahma, my soul, my Atma is also that Shiva. Brahma here being Shiva. Brahman, Shiva. Brahma, when we say, it's not the four-headed Brahma. Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. Tattvamasi. I am Atma Brahma. Prajnanam Brahma. Sarvam Kalidam Brahma. All this is these are the Mahavakyas, and that's what all Rudram is about. He permeates everything. He is the cause of everything. So the made, the effect, what we call the effect, the part is the effect. So the effect has no reality of its own, independence of its cause. So the part does not have a reality of its own, independent of the maker and the material. So that said, we'll move along because Advaita will take a long if I continue talking about it. And then when you come to Anuvaka number 6, then we describe him in pairs of opposites. Namasobhyayaja pratisargyayacha. He is in the pairs of opposites. Everything is an opposite. Whether it's human beings, whether it's the qualities, whether are the gunas, hot and cold, anger and happiness, anger and calmness, so happiness and sadness. So all these are sa ubhayacha. These are opposite qualities. So Lord Shiva is in both of them, in both extremes. Namasobhyayacha pratisargyayacha. So being in both, the good and the bad, the hot and the cold, and the men and the women. So he moves. That's where the whole creation moves. That's where the whole the janma after janma takes place, because of the opposites and because of the movement. So namasobhyayacha pratisargyayacha, movement. So saha ubhayacha sobhyayacha. He exists in pairs of opposites in the worlds of both good and the bad, and in all things that move. And then when we come to 6, we will see in detail what is that pratisarya means. So that's number 6. And then 7 and 8 and 9 are all follow the same thing. And then 8 we get this beautiful Om Namah Shivaya mantra, which we will see after a couple of slides. And then by the time when you come to 9th Anuvaka, we are talking about quantum mechanics, quantum physics, that he is in the finer particles, and then he is in the particles, unseen particles, in the beyond, in the quantum field. So that will be number 9. And then 10 we already said, that's the prayers. Now, having said that, let's come back to our second topic of today, What is the difference between Rudra and Shiva? Pretty much they are one and the same. Rudra and Shiva are one and the same. Rudra, in his most benevolent form, is Lord Shiva. Or Shiva, in his most terrific form, is Rudra. So they are the two sides of the same coin. Now, Sri Rudram glorifies both the aspects. Now, the Shiva, the most auspicious aspect, is beyond all this Trinity. Shiva is beyond the Trinity. So it's Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. It's not Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. It's Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. The Brahma, Shiva creates Brahmas for the creation, and then Vishnu for maintenance, and then Rudras for resolution. But Shiva is behind all this. So being behind all this, he is the one who showers upon us the grace to get out of this world. Panchakritya parayanaha, Shrishti Sthiti Samharam, Tirodhanam and Anugraha. By doing his Anugraha, by his grace, by his mercy, he helps us to get across the ocean of samsara with the help of his Panchakshiri Mantra. Now that's why the Panchakshari Mantra is at the very center of the Veda. In Taittiriya Samhita, Krishna Yajurveda, we have 7 khandas, the huge big chapters. There are 7. So the 4th one will be in the middle. If you look at the slides, the 4th one will be in the middle. So 3 on the other side, 3 on this side. So the 4th kanda will be in the middle. So in the middle of the 4th kanda, in the 5th Prapataka, is where Rudram comes. So in the 5th Prapataka, where Rudram comes, in the 8th Anuvaka in Rudram, in the middle of it is you have this Namah Shivaya mantra. So that is Shiva. So with this Panchakshari Mantra, in the 8th Anuvakam, they tell us that you have to pray to Lord Rudra like you did from Anuvakam 1, Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, Namaste Rudramanyava. You have to offer those prayers to Lord Rudra because to pacify him, to remove your karmas, to soften your karmas, because enlightenment, liberation is not possible unless and until your karmas are resolved. That's why we title these talks as resolve. First thing is to resolve your karmas. Resolve. Then you realize that Shivatvam in you with the help of the Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya mantra right in the middle. Then what? Then rejoice. Be happy. So resolve, then realize and rejoice. So the resolution part, resolving your karmas, all the prayers to Rudras in the first few Anuvakas. Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, Namaste Rudramanyava, all that is. So when we come to 8th Anuvaka, we are already praying for liberation. So how we describe him? Because the Namah Shivaya mantra is right there. Namah Shivaya cha, Shivataraya cha. We call him Shivataraya cha. And then we also call him Somaya cha, Rudraya cha, Namastamraya cha, Arunaya cha, Namah Shangaya cha, Pashupataye cha, Namah Ugraya cha, Bhimaya cha, Namo Agre Vadaya cha, Dure. This is all Rudra. Agre Vadaya cha, Dure Vadaya cha, Hantre cha, Haniyase cha, Ma Vrukshebhya, Harikeshebhya. Now Shiva, Namastaraya. One who takes us across. Namastaraya. Namashambhave. Mayobhave. Shambhu. One who does only auspicious things. Shambhu. Then Mayobhu. Namashambhave. Namastaraya. He ferries creatures across the ocean of samsara. He is the greatest boatman. So Namastaraya. This is an Anuvakam 8. After describing Rudra in the first few yajus, then when we come to this is the only yajus where there is only one word. There is no pairs here. Namastaraya. That's it. So in the beginning of the 8th Anuvaka, we say Namasomaya cha Rudraya cha, Saha Umaya cha Rudraya cha, Somaya cha Rudraya cha 2. Namasomaya cha Rudraya cha, Namastamraya cha Arunaya cha 2. Namashangaya cha Pashupataye cha 2. Ugraya cha Bhimaya cha 2. Agre Vadaya cha Dure Vadaya cha 2. Hantre cha Haniyase cha 2. Vrukshebhya Harikeshebhya 2. Then Namastaraya, no 2 here. Namastaraya, only 1. Taraya. Because he takes you across the ocean of samsara. So therefore, that is the main importance here. Namastaraya, only 1. Then Namashambhavecha Mayobhavecha, again pairs 2. Shambhu, who does good for you here, brings you all mangalam, auspiciousness, fulfills all your prayers. And then also in the other world, he takes care of you to work out your karmas. So that is Shiva. So the first part that I described, Ugrayacha, Bhimayacha, that's Rudra. He is the one who resolves our karma. So he needs to be appeased also. That's why we take his name. Ugrayacha, Bhimayacha, Agrevadayacha, Durevadayacha, one who can hurt from close by, one who can hurt being very far. So all this is Rudra. Agrevadayacha, Durevadayacha, Hantrecha, Hanyascha, Vrikshebhya, Harikeshebhya, Namastaraya. Then Namashambhavecha, Mayobhavecha. Happiness here, Shambhuhu, Mayobahu. This is Shiva. Shambhavecha, Mayobhavecha, Shankarayacha, Mayaskarayacha, Shankaraha. Shankaroti iti Shankaraha. Means he does only good, only auspicious things he does. Because once you clear the debris of your karmas, then it's all joy, it's all happiness, it's all mangalam, it's all auspiciousness. So that's why Namah Shankarayacha, Mayaskarayacha. And if you haven't liberated yourself in this janma, when you go to the other side, there also he guides you, Mayaskarayacha. And then Namah Shivayacha, Shivatarayacha. So this is where the Panchakshiri Mantra comes in. The middle of the Rudram, middle of the Krishna Yajurveda, Taittiriya Samhita. That is why this is the essence of the Vedas. The essence of all the Vedas is this Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. That's why even all the great saints in the Tamil, they sang that Vedam Nanginimai Purulavadu Nadan Namam Namah Shivaya. The essence of all the Vedas is the Panchakshari Mantra of the Lord Parameshwara. Nadan Namam, his name, Namah Shivaya. So the Namah Shiva is even more superior to Paramashiva himself. So that is why even Manikyavasagar, when he sings his Shiva Puranam, doesn't worship Shiva himself. First he worships the name, Namah Shivaya Valha, glory to Namah Shivaya. Nadan Tal, then he goes to Lord's feet. So therefore this Namah Shivaya mantra is a very powerful mantra, is so important. I don't care whether you chant the Vedas or you don't chant the Vedas, but chant this, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. This is your protection, this is your kavacha. Because this is what protected Appar. When they threw him in fire, the Namah Shivaya protected him. When they set an elephant upon him, this Namah Shivaya protected him. So when they tied him up to a huge rock and threw him on overboard in the ocean, all that he chanted was Namah Shivaya. Sotrunai Vediyan Sodhi Vanavan Putrunai Tirundadi Purunda Kaidola Katrunai Purtiyor Kadalil Pachinam Natrunai Avadin Namah Shivaya. What they did not do to him? They did everything to Appar, to get him converted back to non-Shaivite religion. But he won't. So the kings who were patronizing the non-Shaivism, non-Hindu religions, tried to kill him, get rid of him. They did all these things to him. They tried to burn him in a kiln. They tried to set a mad elephant upon him. But the elephant came and saluted and went away when he chanted Om Namah Shivaya. Then finally at a last, they tied him to a huge boulder, a huge rock, and then took him on a huge boat, threw him overboard in the sea. Then he still chanted Om Namah Shivaya. So the whole rock started floating. And it floated and got ashore near Pondicherry in a place called Karayeriyapakam. And the name of the place is named after this event. So where he got ashore. So this is all history. So this is what Namah Shivaya can do for you. Namah Shivaya, particularly at this time of the day, this Namah Shivaya is your best protection. So it's Lord Rudra and Shiva are one and the same. Rudra clears the debris, Shiva showers the boons. So that's the only difference. Now the Rudram, there are threefold uses for this Rudram. What are the threefold uses? In Sanskrit you call it Yajna Paksha, Deva Paksha and Atma Paksha. Yajna Paksha. It could be used in rituals like Abhishekam and Homam and all, like Karma Kanda. So Yajna Paksha, there you could use it. To appease Lord Rudra, to seek his blessings, to have him remove our karmas. When you do Abhishekam to Lord Shiva, you chant Rudram. And you can do Rudra Homam. So all this is Yajna Paksha. But then also you could also use it for Upasana. Upasana means you have Ishta Devata, Lord Shiva. And then you could use Rudram as a Upasana mantra, as a Upasana. So Deva Paksha Vyakya, Yajna Paksha Vyakya, Deva Paksha Vyakya, and then Atma Paksha Vyakya. So what is the last one? Atma Paksha Vyakya. That's for your final liberation, enlightenment. Because Rudram is Advaita Vedanta. Rudram is Upanishad, Rudra Upanishad. So in order to realize your reality, who you really are, if you keep chanting Rudram mentally and keep chanting Om Namah Shivaya Cha, Shivataraya Cha, and meditate upon this meaning, and it will take you to that reality of your inner core, which is Lord Shiva, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. So finally all these your rituals, your karma kandams, your yajna paksha, your upasana, all these were supposed to culminate right here in realizing your Shivatvam, Shivoham. So if he doesn't get there, all this is of no use. So in order to get there, whatever you do has to be done with sincere, utmost attention and devotion. Whether you're doing upasana, the devotion, the bhakti has to be there. If you're doing yajna paksha vyakya, you should be completely focused on Manne karma vachan dhyana jo lave. Sankati se Hanuman chudave. I give this example all the time. You have to have all these four faculties together. Your mind, your word, your speech, your action. All this should be together in a meditative state. Then your mantras will be bearing fruit. Then your mantras will take effect. Otherwise, no. So, Atmapaksha. So that's how Rudram could be used in a threefold view. Now, what is Rik and Yajus? Rudram is composed of verses. There are two different categories. One is called the Rik and the other is called the Yajus. Now, Rik is originally from the Samaveda and the Rigvedas. There are two lines. This is how you understand them. If the two-line verses, they are called the Riks. In Rudram, you see the Riks in the first Anuvakam, complete first Anuvakam. Then you see them in the 10th Anuvakam and a few verses in the 11th Anuvakam. And then the Yajus, you see from the beginning of second Anuvakam, because they're all one line now. Namo Hiranyabhave Senhanye Dishanchapataye Nama. So that is like one line. Namo Vrikshebhyo Harikeshebhyo Pashunam Pataye Namah. So with the Namaha in the beginning, at the end. So these are all one line with the Namaha in the beginning and the Namaha, another Namaha at the end. These are called Yajus. Whereas a Rik is a two-line verse. Namaste Rudram Hanyava Utota Ishabhe Namaha. Namaste Astidanvane Bahubhyam Utate Namaha. So the two-line, and that is a Rik. Same way. Trape Andasaspadhe Daridranila Lohita. Yesam Purushanam, Yesam Pashunam, Mabhirma Romo Esam Kinchana Mamat. So these are the two lines together called Riks in the first Anuvakam, the 10th Anuvakam. Yajus is one line verses in the second till the end of 9th Anuvakam. So Anuvakams 1, 10 and some in 11. They are called, there are a total of 37 Riks. This is the structure of the Rudram. And then rest of it is all Yajus. From the beginning of second, Namo Hiranyabhave, to the end of the 9th and the last line of Anuvakam 11 called Yajus. So there are 130 Yajus and 47 of them called Ubayato Namaskaras. What we mean by that? That at the beginning and at the end there will be Namaha. There will be two Namaskaras. For each line there will be two Namaskaras, Ubayato. Namo Hiranyabhave Senanye Dishanchapataye Namaha. Two Namaskaras. Namo Vrikshebhya Rikeshebhya Pashunam Pataye Namaha. Two. Nama Saspinjara. Nama Saspinjara Yatushi Mate Patinam Pataye Namaha. So beginning at the end. So there are 47 of these Yajus. So that is why when we do Homam, the offering is done. When we chant the Riks, the offering is done for every two lines. Whereas when you do the Yajus, the offering is done for every line. So in other words, Namaste Rudram Anyo Utota Ishave Namaha. No Swaha here, even though line is over. Namaste Rudram Anyo Utota Ishave Namaha. Namaste Dhanmane Bahubhyam Utate Namah Swaha. Yata Isha Shivatama Shivam Bhabuvate Danahu. No Swaha here. Shiva Sarabhyaya Tavatayano Rudramadaya Swaha. So every two lines. But then when you come to second Anuvakam, Om Namo Hiranyabhave Senhanye Dishanchapataye Namah Swaha. End of every line. Namo Vrikshebhya Rikeshebhya Pashunam Pataye Namah Swaha. Saspinjara Yatushi Mate Patinam Pataye Namah Swaha. Every line. So that's how you know the difference between what is a Rik and what's a Yajus. So that's how the whole Rudram is structured. And then we have following these discourses, we have the Laganyasam, which is chanted before the Rudram. It's also called Mahanyasam, that's also chanted before the Rudram. That's about little more than an hour, that chanting itself. But Laganyasam is about 10 minutes or so. So the reason you have to chant Laganyasam before you chant Rudram, Nyasam means purification. Nyasa, this one particular word Nyasa, has two meanings. One is to bring it together and also to let go. Sannyasam, to let go and bring together like this. Bring it together, Nyasam. So are we bringing together here? In this case, it's both letting go of the impurity and bringing together your Atma with the divinity. So that is why it's called Nyasam. There are two meanings at the same time. You are letting go all that doesn't belong to you, all the grime and the dirt, you are cleaning up, letting that go, let it wash away. And then in the process, you're also bringing yourself to be one with the divinity in you. So that is why Nyasam is done, because the rule is that you cannot do puja to Rudra unless you yourself make yourself Rudra himself. So that's what Nyasam does. So you purify yourself, make yourself Rudra himself, then you do your puja.
Guruji?
Yes.
Okay, I was just wondering about your temple in India you're building. Can you tell us more about it, please?
About which one?
In India. In India.
Okay. So we have two projects in India that are on now. The first project is in Tiruvannamalai, and the second project is in Karnataka, near Udupi, in a place close to a place called Shaligram, and the exact name of the place is Parampalli, right on the beach of the Arabian Sea. So let me talk about the first one, and then we'll tell you what the second one is all about. In Tiruvannamalai, as most of you know, we have this ashram called Tirumular Ashram. We had that for a while. And we also have a temple there, a small temple with a 5-foot Nataraja Murti and Shiva Lingam, Meenakshi, and then Nataraja and Shivakami, Ganesha, and then we have Subramanya Swami, Kartikeya Swami. Those are all the deities in the Tiruvannamalai ashram. We also have a devotee's cottage, very modern, a luxurious cottage, is air conditioned, for about 30 devotees that can stay there. So this is what we have now. We did this in 2018, and then 2018 was the temple inaugurated, and then 2019 we inaugurated the cottages, the new cottages, and the Swamiji Kutia and all that. Now what we are doing now is completely different. We have some land in the ashram. So what we are doing, this is a very unique project in the sense, not only it's unique, it's a humongous, it's a mega project. We are going to have a Shiva Lingam that's going to measure up to a total height of about 26 to 27 feet from the ground. And the Shiva Lingam itself is coming from Madhya Pradesh, near a place called Omkareshwar. So this is the Narmadeshwara Lingam, Bana Lingam. So this is a 13-foot Shiva Lingam that's almost made now, final, and then being trucked out to Tiruvannamalai. Now this will be sitting on a Avadayar or a Peetam of 6 to 7 feet high. These are huge boulders that were brought to Mahabalipuram, and the Silpis are working on it. So total, and then everything together, this will measure a total of 26 to 27 feet. Now not only that, surrounding this Shiva Lingam in the middle, the Bana Lingam in the middle, there will be 108 Shiva Lingams surrounding this. And there also will be Bana Lingam. Now why Bana Lingam? Because there are a lot of granite stones are available in plenty in Tamil Nadu. Why did we go all the way to Madhya Pradesh, Omkareshwar, to get this particular Bana Lingam made out of Narmada stone? The reason is very simple. As per the Shastras, the Yoga Shastra of the Kaula tradition from Kashmir. It lists the quality and the benefits and the power of Shiva Lingam in a graded hierarchy. So starting from clay, and then you have starting from black granite, red stone, green stone, then jade, all this, red, green stone, then gold, silver, mercury. So they list all this Shiva Lingam, but in the hierarchy of power and vibrations and worthy of worship, in that hierarchy they place the Banalingam right on top, even though it's a stone, but it's a Narmada stone, right on top, even over Mercury Lingam, even over gold Shiva Lingam, even over Spatika Shiva Lingam, even over silver Shiva Lingam. The reason is not only scripturally, not only in our scriptures, the Banalingam is considered very superior, but also in terms of its crystalline structure. This Banalingam is very unique in the sense that there is nowhere else in the world, in this entire world, that you get that particular crystalline structure that's in this Banalingam. Now, what are the scriptural injunctions on this Banalingam? There are no injunctions. Banalingam is the only lingam that doesn't have to be installed according to the Shastras, that even when you worship in a house, so you don't have to follow the rules that applies to the rest of the Shiva Lingam. And not only that, when you worship a Banalingam, the power of the Banalingam is so much that they say that Narmadeshwar, every morning when you worship a Narmadeshwar, even when you are in the vicinity of a Narmadeshwar, just being in the vicinity of the Narmada Shiva Lingam itself, being in the vicinity itself, removes all your negativity, removes all your karmic bondages, brings you to a purificatory state, the vibration of the Shiva Lingam itself. And now imagine we are bringing this Banalingam from Narmada, which is Jala Tattvam, water, and we are installing it in Tiruvannamalai, which is Agni Tattvam, which is fire. So we are powerfully bringing these two tattvas together and installing it in Tiruvannamalai in the middle, plus surrounded by 108 Banalingams. Now the idea is to go around not only the big, huge 27 feet Banalingam, but also to go around the 108 Shiva Lingams. The 108 Shiva Lingams will be named after each one of those Shiva's Ashtotram. So there are 108 names for Lord Shiva. Om Namah Shankara, Mayaskara, all those Shivas. So Ashtamurti. So 108 names of Lord Shiva will be the names of all these 108 Shiva Lingams. Now, right outside of this 108, there will be a circular path. There will be a path, what we call mini Girivalam path, we call it, or I call it Mantra March. So, in other words, when you go to the ashram, you will be given a Shiva Mula Mantra, and you march along, like you left, right, left, right, left, right, you march along. So you march along this path like Om Ham 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 Shivaya Namaha, Om Ham 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 Shivaya Namaha. So when you do that, there are three things that are taken care of. Your Adhyatmika Shuddhi, Adi Bhautika Shuddhi, Adi Daivika Shuddhi. So in other words, there are two purifications. You achieve three goals while doing this. While you walk around this march, Om Ham 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 Shivaya Namaha, you're doing a good exercise, Adi Bhautika, good for your body, right? Then Adi Daivika, this is a great worship of Lord Shiva. You're going around 108 small Banalingams plus one huge Banalingam, so Adi Daivika, you get the grace of the divine ones, so Adi Daivika. Then by doing these two, you are realizing your Shivatvam in you, Adhyatmika. So all these three goals are achieved by just going around this 108 Banalingams. So that is the project that flashed into me with the grace of Lord Shiva last October. And thanks to the great efforts of a team that we have here, wonderful team in India, as well as now we have a couple of devotees join us from Australia. The team in India comprises of Sri Rajendranji, Sri Ramji, Srinivasanji, then Bhaskaranji, then we have Sundarji. See, these are the good team. and Rajendran is spearheading all the efforts. And then in Australia we have this wonderful pair of Lajuji and Shalini. They are spearheading this effort to make this a reality. So most of the work is done, almost 50–60% of the work is done. I'll send you a video of all those, and involving a lot of cranes and huge boulders and many shilpis. Many teams are working on it. So the whole idea is that a devotee goes and around one time or two times this, the job is done. So this is one project where the Jala Tattvam comes and mingles with the Agni Tattvam in Tiruvannamalai. Whereas in Udupi, in Shaligram, the Jala Tattvam of the river mingles with the Jala Tattvam of the ocean. The Arabian Sea, right on the shore, we are putting a 15-feet Shiva Lingam, a total height of 15 feet Shiva Lingam, of which the Bana Lingam itself is going to measure about 8 feet. So in Madhya Pradesh, in a village called Bakawa near Omkareshwar, these two Shiva Lingams, the Bana Lingams, the 13 feet and the 8 feet, and the 1.5 feet, 108 Shiva Lingam, they're all almost done and made. And once these COVID restrictions are lifted, we will start working on the civil structures. And once that is done, then from Mahabalipuram the Avadayars will come, the huge Avadayars. Then we'll get those Bana Lingams from Madhya Pradesh once all these two stages are ready and install them. Originally the plan was to do Kumbhabhishekam sometime in July, but it doesn't look like it because of the travel restrictions imposed due to the COVID lockdown. So that's pretty much the project is, and we would like each and every one of you to get involved in this. And because this is not for me, this is not for anybody else, this is for you all devotees. So we have a place there you can go and stay, even 1 week retreat, where you learn the Shiva Mantras, where you learn Shiva Yogam. This is all in the future plan. One of us, myself will be there, and a couple of others, we all will be teaching you Shiva Yogam. What is Shiva Yogam? We'll be training a couple of teachers to teach Shiva Yogam. And the Shiva Yogam is the highest form of yoga that comes to us from Tirumular. Tirumular is 5,000 years ago. So the Yogam, Shiva Yogam, or Vachi Yogam they also call it, as taught by Tirumular in the Tirumandiram, is the highest form of yoga that you can do, highest meditation you can do to merge with Lord Shiva. In other words, Trayambakam Yajamahe Sagandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarkam Iva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshe Mamrdat. He will liberate you as easily as a ripe cucumber falls off its vine entanglement. So that is why we are doing this. And our ashram is named after Tirumular. What we will be teaching would be the Tirumula's Shiva Yogam, and what you will be doing is the Banalinga Parikrama, so the practical aspects to all this by chanting the Shiva Mula Mantras. So that's all this whole future vision, and by Lord Shiva's blessings, up to now it's been mostly pretty much our own funds, but now we are at a stage where we do need to get sponsorships for the smaller Shivalingams and sponsorship for the big Shivalingam, which I'll be sending out the information. So those of you who want to get involved, please be part of it. And that's what the project is, Lajuji. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. It's so beautiful the way you explained. And yes, I will definitely get some sponsorship, and it will be it will be for us to do for ourselves, and thank you so much. Lots of pleasure.
You're welcome.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Yeah. Any other questions or observations? So we will do our Laganyasam next week. Please don't miss those classes. You see, these are my classes are not for people who want entertainment. If you're looking for entertainment, this is not the place. But if you're looking for real knowledge, what is real, then you come here. Then you will learn what you need to learn, what needs to be learned. So when we do this Rudram, you'll be amazed how in-depth meaning that each one of these verses have. So superficially you can find the meanings on the internet, but we are not going to do internet meaning. This is in-depth meaning. That's what we are going to do. So I encourage all of you to attend these classes. Sahana bhavatu, sahana bhunaktu, sahavityam karvavahe, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you, Guruji.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you, Swamiji. It was so enlightening, your talk. Very enlightening.
Thank you, Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you.